If you've ever woken up and felt no desire to get out of bed, not because you're physically exhausted, but because something deeper inside you feels heavy, Jung would say this feeling matters. You may call it laziness, others may tell you to be more disciplined or more active, but Jung believed this kind of stillness is not a sign of weakness. It is your soul trying to get your attention. It is the inner part of you saying that something in your life is no longer fitting who you are. Today, we're going to explore this feeling in a simple psychological way. You'll learn what this heaviness means, why your energy disappears, and how this quiet moment may be the first signal of a deeper emotional change inside you. Most people ignore this feeling and push themselves through life. They blame themselves, drink more coffee, or force productivity. But Jung believed that when you ignore such signals, the conflict inside you grows stronger. You become more tired, more disconnected, and more confused. Your mind feels cloudy and your emotions feel dull. Life starts to lose meaning. But when you understand this feeling instead of fighting it, everything changes. The stillness becomes a message, not a problem. Jung said this is often the moment when the soul begins preparing you for a new stage. When you pay attention, you move toward clarity. The difference between feeling lost and finding yourself usually begins with listening to this quiet inner voice. Jung believed the human mind has its own natural way of asking for change. When your soul feels overwhelmed or out of balance, it withdraws your energy. You feel tired, unmotivated, and unable to push yourself the way you used to. Jung called this psychic incubation. It means your mind is doing inner work beneath the surface. It is sorting through emotions, memories, conflicts, and experiences that you may not even know you're carrying. And because this inner work takes energy, your outer motivation decreases. We also live in a world that celebrates constant activity, and we're taught that stopping means falling behind. But Jung believed the psyche works more like nature. It needs seasons of activity and seasons of stillness. When your soul asks you to slow down, it's not trying to stop your progress, it's preparing you for a deeper change. What looks like doing nothing is actually your inner world healing, reorganizing, and guiding you back to a more honest and meaningful direction. One of the main reasons you feel the urge to lie down all day is misalignment. Misalignment happens when the life you're living doesn't match who you truly are inside. You might be following routines that once felt meaningful that now feel empty. You may be keeping up with responsibilities that no longer bring satisfaction. You may be living a life that looks right from the outside but feels wrong on the inside. Jung believed that when your soul feels disconnected from your daily life, it withdraws your energy. You lose motivation not because you're weak, but because your inner self refuses to support something that no longer feels true. Nearly everything begins to feel like too much. Even small tasks feel heavy. This tiredness is a psychological signal. This life doesn't match who you are becoming. Instead of pushing harder, Jung would tell you to understand this feeling. The lack of energy is not a flaw, it's information. It's pointing toward a deeper need for change, honesty, and realignment. Another reason behind this desire to lie down all day is unmoaned grief. This kind of grief is not always obvious. It may not come from a recent event. It can be grief from something long ago that you never processed fully. A breakup, a friendship that ended, a dream you lost, a version of yourself that you had to leave behind. Jung believed that when grief stays hidden, it takes energy from you in the background. The psyche holds the weight of what you never allowed yourself to feel. This drains motivation and makes daily life feel overwhelming. In these moments, your soul pulls you inward. It wants you to stop running from your feelings. It wants space to let out what you've been holding inside for too long. The urge to lie down becomes a safe emotional pause. It is not your mind shutting down. It is your heart trying to heal. This tiredness is not weakness. It is your inner world saying, let me process what you have ignored. Let me help you release what you've been carrying. Some people feel tired because they absorb too much from the world. Jung believed that many individuals are highly sensitive to emotions. They pick up tension from conversations, news, social pressure, family issues, or even small interactions. This emotional overload builds up slowly, and eventually the nervous system reaches its limit. Your soul responds by pulling you inward. You feel the need to lie down, rest, and shut out the world. This is not avoidance, it is emotional protection. Your psyche is trying to reset itself. Your nervous system needs quiet to reduce stress hormones, calm your mind, and regain balance. Jung saw this type of tiredness as emotional cleansing. It is a way for the psyche to remove all the emotional noise you've absorbed. You're not broken, you're simply overwhelmed. The desire to lie down is your body and mind creating space to reset, breathe, and find stability again. Another deep reason is the experience of inner transition, what Jung called the liminal space. This is the phase where your old identity is fading, but the new one is not fully formed. The spirit is confusing. You may not feel like yourself. You may question your life, your purpose, your relationships, and your direction. The Skyim's transformation uses a large amount of psychological energy. The mind is quietly taking apart old beliefs and shaping new ones. This is why people in transition often feel tired, emotional, or detached. You only believe this stage is not a step backward. It is preparation. Your psyche is shattering old patterns and preparing a new inner structure. The desire to light out is the sound that your mind is protecting you during this rebuilding process. It wants you to slow down so the transition can happen safely. This ironess is the space between who you were and who you were becoming. It's not the end, it's the middle of transformation. Another reason behind the desire to lie down is blocked creativity. Creativity, in Jung's view, is not just about art or writing. It is about the natural desire to express yourself, grow, and explore new ideas. When life becomes repetitive, restrictive, or overly practical, this creative energy has nowhere to go. Instead of flowing outward into ideas, it turns inward and becomes heavy. This shows up as a lack of motivation, boredom, or emotional numbness. The unbelieved, unused creative energy becomes psychological pressure. The soul pulls you with a stillness because it wants you to redirect your inner fire. It wants you to stop wasting energy on things that do not support your growth. The desire to lie down is not a lack of ambition. It is a sign that you need a new outlet, a new direction, or a new way of expressing who you are. Your creative self is asking for room to breathe. When you put all these reasons together, misalignment, grief, overload, light changes, or blocked creativity, the message becomes clearer. Your desire to lie down is not random. It is your soul's way of saying that something inside you needs tension, healing, or change. Jung believes the psyche speaks through energy. When energy disappears, something important is happening. The stillness is not a failure. It is the pause your inner world creates so you can understand yourself better. Instead of fighting the tiredness, Jung would tell you to pay attention to it. Notice what feels off. Notice what has been ignored. Notice what your heart has been whispering. The tiredness is not a punishment. It is an invitation, a chance to step into honesty, clarity, and emotional renewal. Jung believed the soul speaks in gentle, quiet ways. When the heaviness comes, see it as courage to awareness instead of judgment. Don't rush to escape it with distractions. Sit with it for a moment. Listen. You don't need a complex method, just a simple willingness to notice your thoughts and your feelings. Wonderful tool is free writing. Write whatever comes to mind without thinking or filtering. Let your inner thoughts flow freely. Younger blood, this helps the unconscious to reveal what it wants to say. Over time, patterns appear, words, images, emotions that guide you toward understanding your inner stage. Youngsters, as you ask yourself 3 questions during these moments. 1. What am I protecting myself from? 2. What in my life no longer supports my growth? And 3. Which version of me is trying to emerge? These questions open a